Jim had a very, very popular product, still does. Boy, in the 80s, you would see a wall of this product, but I'm not sure how many of these. But if you know the answer, which Jim Marshall passed away this week. What did Jim Marshall create? 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. I will tell you this, he was not an artist. He did not paint landscapes and pictures of the Sierras and other things, too. Another gentleman passed away last night, Mr. Thomas Kincaid. So I am guessing there, Mr. Estate Attorney, that if I have a collection of Kincaids in my repertoire of massive art holdings, that I am probably now can go buy that yacht I was talking about earlier, because
most artists' work goes up in value when they die.
Right.
This guy's won't. That you're talking about Thomas Kincaid.
Yes. Why are you being so? He just passed away. You don't know. The market could be swelling as we speak right now. We don't know.
Well, here's the investment tip of the day. If you own a Kincaid, go online and sell it today, because it will be worth more today than it ever will. And I think at the break we were talking, if I could have bought a Jeremy Lin rookie card a month ago, I believe it would have been hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and my guess is today it's worth $1. And I think the same is going to apply to the Kincaid stuff.
So you actually run into clients with Kincaid?
A lot. I mean, having written over 10,000 wills and trusts over 32 years, I can tell you that a lot of people in this area come in to see me, and when they're listing what they want to pass on to their heirs, more than a handful, a significant number have Kincaids that they think is the family treasure, it's the wealth, the legacy that they're going to be able to pass on for generations to come, and that they have a piece of priceless art that they can pass on. It's not. Because that they have done an incredible job of marketing to believe people. You walk into the studio and here's a limited edition. Here's the Circle of Light number 14, and there's only 100 of them. And here's how much it is. And they show you, just like when you bought Beanie Babies years ago, and they told you that if you bought this Beanie Baby, it was going to be worth some phenomenal amount of money in the future because of supply and demand. That there's only 100 of this painting. And that it's going to be worth more and more and more over time. It's not that way, because they cranked out so much art, if you want to call it art, that the supply far exceeds the demand. That why would someone buy a used one online when they can go into any Kincaid gallery and buy a new one? These people, listing. I had a client who had like 14 of them, and they didn't even have enough wall space. They were storing some of them and rotating them because they thought these things were.
You don't want to get the sun. You don't want the sun to hit it unevenly on the right.
Because he is the master artist of light, and they think these things are so valuable, and they're treating them like investments, and they're putting their hard-earned dollars into these things that they think are investments, and they're telling me what they think they're worth. Go on eBay. There's thousands of Kincaids on eBay of people that are trying to resell their used art, and there's no demand for it. They're not selling them. There's no market for them.
So by sheer volume, his passing will not put us well. Well, maybe today.
No, there's Sacramento has some very prominent artists that when they pass their art that already has value will probably increase in value legitimately.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't. From my observations, I don't see that happening here.
So that's interesting that you got a significant client base that certainly put their.
So that would encourage them.
How much
to sell?
How much does I have no clue. How much did a Kincaid cost if you bought one out of the gallery?
If it was like a print, it might be in the hundreds, but if it was an original, it was in the thousands.
And so your clients bought them thinking they would be worth tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands, right.
Okay, well, this gentleman who passed away, Jim Marshall, his art was the Marshall stack.
That's true art.
This is true art. The Marshall stack, which is the amplifiers for the Marshall system. So, yeah, Jim Marshall, who created, he was a drummer and an engineer, and created what became known as the Marshall JTM 45 amplifier.
Anybody has a Marshall amp.
Yeah, and a bunch of them, like a wall of them. So all the hair bands in the 80s still carrying those around. So Jim Marshall passed away. We got a couple winners that got that right. Hey, I'm not sure our text line is working there at 441140, so we'll check that and see if we can get some text. We did get a couple callers. You guys check the text line in there and see that. We'll see if that's working. Looks like it maybe froze up a little bit as well. So.
Or maybe no one's listening.
It could be. Or maybe just no one's texting. Usually I keep people text me to say, I hate you, stop talking. So that's a fairly common text. And so if that was, yeah, there it goes. So those are prints. So this is off the text line at 441140. Those are prints. How about an original? So are you seeing, we're talking about the Kincaid now, are you seeing was the originals are not?
It's supply and demand. And I have never had a client pass whose family tried to sell the Kincaid that was able to sell it.
Even get any money back. So
right.
And this, I mean, that's the beauty of, you don't have to take Mark's word for it. That's the beauty about the internet. Type on original Kincaid artwork. And
well, as in the Bee today, it said go on to eBay at any given time, and there's literally thousands of them on there listed for sale. And when there's that many, it's supply and demand.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I saw this. I'm going to lead this into you a little bit too. This was out of the obscure, but I thought this was unusual. So we're do a little legal talk now. Chrysler, who filed for bankruptcy, went into bankruptcy court, came out of bankruptcy court, reorganized
to an LLC.
The Chrysler Group LLC. Chrysler also came out with one other little fact that people don't really know about, but there is a number of people that are finding out now. There was a gentleman whose 1998 Dodge Caravan caught fire on a California highway 2 years ago, trapping him and his two children. The fuel system leaked, and they were both burned excessively. And they have been in a lawsuit with Chrysler since that event. But when the Chrysler came out of the bankruptcy, they also came out with one other thing. Go ahead.
Is that a quiz question or
no? It's an attorney question. What did they come out with in addition to being reorganized?
A clean slate.
Yeah, a clean slate, and also immune from punitive damages.
Mm-hmm.
And so they cannot be sued for anything prior to the bankruptcy event.
And that's probably not the only caravan out there that has a problem.
I think that is criminal. That people. We had this discussion about bankruptcy courts before, and one of the discussions in my world has been, should we allow a bankruptcy, not attorney, but a bankruptcy lawyer, a judge.
Let's not pick on lawyers here.
No, a bankruptcy judge. Should we allow a bankruptcy judge to rewrite a mortgage for somebody? That's one of the proposals that's been out there. If you go into bankruptcy, do we want the judge to say, well, geez, Mark, you came in here, you owe $400, and Jeff was just telling me the house down the street's for $289, and so I think what I'll do is I'll just cut your mortgage to $289 for you. I'm going to rewrite the term because you're at that 6% rate. I'm going to rewrite it at 3%. And I tell you what, why don't you hold your payments for the next year, get your stuff back together, and you can start from now on. That was one of the proposals. Go into a bankruptcy court and let the judge rewrite the whole order. Well, this is the kind of stuff that comes out of bankruptcy courts. I mean, judges are given some pretty free reign. I'll tell you right now, if your husband, your dad, and your children were burned in that Chrysler car, now this says punitive damages, so maybe they can get their medical costs recovered. But
I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, but I believe all of that suit is gone. When you're discharged in bankruptcy, your debts are forgiven.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's right. And that's the same problem I have with saying do we want to give bankruptcy courts the right to rewrite mortgages? You only have to.
Well, then we better start building more bankruptcy courthouses because we're going to be full.
Well, weren't you telling me they're building some big monster courthouse there by the rail yards where the new stadium's?
Yeah, the Sacramento Superior Court is grossly undersized for the demand that it was created for, and we do have a huge amount of money that the state has set aside to build new courthouses in various communities, and Sacramento is one of them. And we do have money set aside to build a courthouse that we need badly.
That's
and it's going to go in the rail yard. And, when you're talking about what the arena would do to jumpstart this economy, what if you put an arena and a courthouse in that new rail yard? What's that going to do to create demand for office buildings, restaurants, nightclubs, hotels, housing, and everything else? It's going to be phenomenal. If we can get this arena deal going, and if we can have and we are going to have a courthouse that's being built there, it's going to have an incredible impact on jobs in this community.
Yeah, I go back to the discussion we had during the break there, Petco Park, and what came out of the dump that was that part of the district, and now you look at it, it's phenomenal. And so to finish my thought, if you allowed bankruptcy judges to rewrite mortgages, which they can do, by the way, I believe in the commercial world. So if you have if your business is in bankruptcy and you have a commercial lien and commercial loan, I believe the judges are given the authority to restructure the commercial transaction a little bit. But imagine if they could do it for every single home. Right. First off, we'd have a line out the door for people trying to do that. Second off, would you want to loan me money if all I had to do is walk into a Judge Margin there and say, you know what, she's a bleeding heart liberal in there, so all I got to do is go in there and tell her I got 3 kids. This house is, I can't move my kids out of this house. I'm not, I don't feel like working today. I could work. I don't feel like it. Whatever your story could be, all I got to do is convince her that you, the Drobny lending firm, is gouging me at 4.5%, making me pay back this damn thing that I signed up to pay. You're a bad guy, I'm a good guy, and she could rewrite it. How many more loans would the Drobny lending firm want to write after the first couple got written down? None.
I had to go out of the lending business.
Yeah.
And
you'd probably become an attorney.
At a certain point, you got to look at, and my office is on the corner of Arena and Truxell in Natomas, and there's a few houses north of us that have gone into foreclosure and bankruptcy. So we have a lot of people literally walking in asking for help, and that's one of the things that you have a hard time reconciling is that, when you bought that house, you said, this is how much money I can afford to pay, and you bought that house because you loved that house.
Right.
And you said, I love this house, I want this house, here's how much money I'm willing to pay a month, and I'm planning on living here for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. So who cares what it's worth today?
Yeah.
And a lot of people walking in saying, it's not fair, who can I sue? My house isn't worth as much as but what I have a hard time is that's the house you wanted, and that's how much you were willing to pay a month. So the fact that presently it's not worth as much money, you were planning on living there for a long time, who cares what it's worth today? You're not planning on selling it.
Yeah.
And if you said you could afford that monthly payment then, why don't you keep making that monthly payment now?
If you're going to try to hold them to personal responsibility, Mark, this show is over. Okay? That is the kind of crap that is going to get us thrown off the air.
Or they're like, I want to sue my realtor and my loan broker because they told me to lie on my loan application.
Well,
and it's like, have you ever owned a home before? And they go, no. And I'm like, well, so you're living in this gorgeous home in Natomas. How many homes have you ever owned before? None. You've always rented. You've gotten to live in this beautiful home for a couple of years and say that it's yours, and now you're going to have to give it back to the bank. The only advice I can give to you is go buy a camera and take pictures of this wonderful house you got to live in after you lied on your loan application. And you want to sue somebody?
And then what you can do is when you take the picture, you can put limited edition print. This is one of 100. And when you die,
can make some money.
Your family will be loaded because this was the Natomas mansion, one of 100. So, yeah. So maybe we'll make some money after all for somebody as well. I'm gonna take a little early break here because I want to get back into some of this online life stuff. I got a couple more quiz questions here. Let's do this one since the Final Four basketball is all over. This team, 20 most valuable Division I men's college basketball programs. Number one, the estimated value of this franchise, if you would call it that for college, $211 million. It dwarfs everybody else.
I don't think anyone will get this one.
They were in the top 8. Let's put it that of the NCAA playoffs. So one of the top 8 teams, number one, worth $211 million. I'll give you this: Duke is not the answer. Duke was number 7 at 105.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. So 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. We'll be right back.